Yeah, I should make that fade out a little better, but that's the intro for now. Here we are live in
That's
the
the intro.
boneyard, right? This
There we
afternoon,
go.
Sunday, baby, my music day. I get to sit down and
All
listen to
right.
Lucky. I know it's been a minute, so you better reintroduce yourself, man. Let everyone know who you are, and then we'll get right down to the new music.
All right. My name's Joel. I'm from the band The Discarded. How you doing? I play guitar and sing.
Nice, man. You do both, eh? That's right. That's right. You guys are a three-piece band, am I correct? I remember.
We're a three-piece band. I got
Yeah.
my 20-year-old son on drums. I was originally a drummer, but hey, I'm going with the youth movement there.
Mm-hmm.
And my other son on bass, who's 24 now.
Oh,
So
nice.
we've been going
Family
at it
affair.
since 2016. So 7 years now. They
Shit,
started when they
eh?
were 13 and 17, and now they're like they can drink and they do.
Yeah, live the lifestyle now,
From
right?
being young, they went from being young kids to
Yeah,
people who are allowed to do whatever they want now.
yeah, right. Now, your new album there, where'd you get the artwork and stuff for that there?
It was a lady called Christy Ryder. She does a lot of album covers, and she does a thing called Popper Most Prints. And
Mm,
we were doing a funny. It was COVID, right? We couldn't play,
yeah.
so we figured let's go have some fun for these few years. And what we did, we made a live album during that time, and I think that was the last time we were on with you guys, where we just kind of
Mm,
went into a studio and batched some stuff out. But we were working on this, which we actually made an animated film, which is
oh,
kind of like a we took a whole thing and so she did the artwork, which is kind of bit like Scooby Doo meets Yellow Submarine
I
meets
was
punk rock band.
gonna say it's got like that Beatles Scooby Doo kind of feel to like
Yeah,
the way the artwork
totally.
is on the cover here, right? So,
And that's what the that's part of we did a soundtrack for a film called The Get Goes, which is that what you see there, where it's an
yeah.
imaginary band. And yeah. So the artwork on the covers is same as the animation,
Oh
basically.
wow. I can't wait to check out this animation this afternoon, man. As soon as we're done
Well,
here,
I'll send you. Did I give you a link? I can give you a link and you can watch it then.
yeah,
Okay.
send her over, and then after the show, I'll put the link up in the post so people
Here,
can go right to it as well.
I
Then
can
for
send you.
sure.
I got one of the videos of one of the songs, "Thoughts and Prayers," off of there, and I
Nice.
can send you the video for that.
Oh, that'd be cool, man. I'd love to watch that.
That's on YouTube as well if you're looking for it. It's already released. The
Yeah.
film isn't because it's at film festival, so I can't share it until after it goes through the film
So
festival. Won
yeah.
about like 8 different awards, like best soundtrack, best low budget animation, that sort of stuff, right? So
Oh,
been pretty good feedback from it as well.
that's pretty awesome, man. Like, how did that even come about? Like, how did you? Do you know this person personally for the film and stuff, and they approached you, or
I made the film.
you guys did it all yourselves? Eh?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, this
absolutely.
is our project there. So
Wow. Eh?
basically, yeah, like I took film and television, and it was kind of like me just saying, okay, we do music stuff.
Hmm.
We got time. We're not playing live. Let's just do a longer thing here. So we can't. We made the album like kind of to be like almost like a just a concept album of that story. And then we went, we
Hmm.
might as well do the visuals with it. So we got together a whole team, like the lady who did the character design. We got a couple of an illustrator and another person who does drawing to do all the backgrounds and stuff. I got a couple of friends who are in animation who told me all the stuff I had to do. And then we got an animator guy that we're working with. And then
Oh
so between
wow.
about this, and then the younger son who isn't in the band, he knows he did all the titles and the editing and all that. So family affair.
Oh wow, man. Hey, you can't
So
argue with that. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, so
everyone's bitching their kids don't talk to them. They don't do this. They fucking hate their music, hate how they dress, and here you guys are doing everything, like the music together,
well, they
the
might hate me
artwork
and hate how I
together.
dress, but
Yeah,
like they'll tell me at least, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, where we get along and pretty good. And like we said, a lot of the time you're all locked in the same house, and they
Hmm.
came from a kind of a rock and roll background. Like they liked bass drums and guitar, so that's what kind of happened when we got into playing. They really
Yeah,
like the music we play, but they're kind of involved in writing it and making it as well and adding their part. So it's not like, oh, I really hate the music I
yeah,
make.
yeah. It
It'd
just
be
keeps making me
to say
play
I
this
hate
riff,
bad
you know.
music or kind of like hating their own music.
Yeah, right. No, that's
Like they wrote
fantastic
the
to hear,
drum
man.
parts. They wrote their bass parts. They helped write the songs with me. So, at the beginning when they were younger, sure, I'd come and go, here's a song
Yeah,
sort of
here,
thing,
try
and they'd
this,
learn
and
it. to their kind of level, right? But
Hmm.
like over the last like probably 4 years, we've written every stuff kind of all together. I like might come up with the idea or a riff or something like that, but even the Thoughts and Prayer song, that's the first single off a hit here.
Hmm.
Wrote the riff on bass, and that's what we based it around. And
No,
so
that's pretty. It's got that.
the structure.
Yeah, yeah, right. And then you did a little something funny here. The radio slogan that I heard
Yeah.
coming on. I was like, what? I listened to it twice in a row. I was like, no way, did they really do this?
Yeah.
I
We
know
were,
it's not like a
well, that's the
real
whole thing,
song,
right?
but
This was,
like, it's pretty fucking cool, man.
yeah, yeah. The cool part is Jarrett. That's kind of where his thing. He's the bass player guy, Jarrett.
Hmm.
He, my son, that one, he did all the little incidental music in between. Like,
Oh.
so when there's their songs, the songs are mostly us as a band, but when it got
Hmm.
into those little like this song has 13 songs and they were called vignettes. So there's little talking parts that are in between some songs that are part of the soundtrack of the movie and that. But those have music underneath it. And those funny little music things he did on his own at home, like doing like really left field stuff that we don't. It's not punk rock stuff at all.
No, not at
But
all,
the
right?
idea of
But
this whole the idea of this, but that one there was like, yeah, let's do that. You're listening to CHI,
I know, I
the
was like,
whole big
what?
monster truck thing, right?
Yeah, had like that 50s feel to it, you know?
Yeah.
No, that was
So
yeah,
it's
that was I
it,
like that. I enjoyed that one. It was like a good nice little break from everything I've been listening to lately. You know what I mean? And trying to get caught up with you guys with the new album and get familiar with some of the songs when that came on, man. All the
yeah,
stress went away. I just started laughing. I was like, that's awesome.
yeah. Well, the thing about this album is it's the concept of the album is that there's this punk rock band that comes out called the Get Goes, and they're two buddies from high school, and they want to change the world with their lyrics and everything and make it a meaningful impact and talk about all the weird shit that's going on. But then the lead singer guy kind of gets this label once they start getting big, goes, oh, he's the pretty boy. We need to soften down the music and the message, and we need to go after the teenage market. And the rest of the band's going, screw this shit. You know, we want to
Yeah.
be the punk rock band we came out with. So it's kind of that's what the whole story is about, is these two guys, kind of the two main guys in the band,
Mhm.
Jay Peters and Johnny Rhythm, fighting over the fact that, hey, the one guy wants to stay true to his vision and the other guy wants to sell out. So
Just
the
wants
album
some
does that
money.
too with the music. Like it starts off heavy, and then it
Mhm.
goes to the part where the manager goes, "Well, Johnny's taking over now. He's going to be the leader of the band, and we're going to go after that teenage market." And then
Yeah.
so then the songs get all like wussy and poppy, and then the band goes, "Screw you," and it gets heavy again. So
All
that's
right.
kind of like the rise and fall of this fictional band called the Get Go.
Mhm.
So there are some stuff on it that are heavy, but then there's also other stuff on it that's not heavy, right? Because it's
Yeah.
going with the theme, what the movie's about.
Yeah, changing now. You can see the perspective of how easy it is to get, say, off the beaten path of where you started, right? Like it's
Right,
something a
staying
lot,
true to what you believe in.
especially in the music industry, right? It's very hard
Right.
to maintain that throughout the years, right?
Well, yeah, there's like, and you'll get that. Like even now, we. It's funny enough, you're interviewing us about this album we just released, but we've always been. We've got the next album that we're working on while this album is coming out. So we just
Yeah.
finished a straight up old punk rock and roll album. It's very rock and roll, but kind of like Teenage Head rock and roll or New
Mm-hmm.
York Dolls rock and roll or Stooges rock and roll.
I was
That's
gonna
what our
say the
next album is
Stooges there,
about. And
right?
it's yeah, and it's just 10 balls to the wall rock and roll punk sort of rock and roll songs, garage feel songs. That's what we just did. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
mastering that this week. But like right now we're kind of doing this like, hey, we put out this Get Goes album, which
Yeah.
took us 3 years to do. We started it in 2019 and we didn't finish it until like
There
later
was a
2022, right?
lot
So
of parts to the
it,
project. It wasn't just say writing the songs. You guys ended up shooting a little documentary or making the movie.
well, it's a
Yeah.
making a video, and that's a whole different thing. That took a year. The album took a year and a half, and then we'd finished the songs like March 2020. We did our final session. We hadn't mixed it, and then COVID happened, and then we recorded all the little parts in between at home, and then
Yeah.
sent it over the internet to the guy's studio we were recording it at, John Critchley, and then we did the mixing remotely where he'd send stuff and go back and forth. And then the animation, then we after we got that all done, we mastered it. and we had like kind of the soundtrack of what we were going to build the visuals over it. And then I got that team that I talked about, and then we had to kind of plan out each song and vignette was a scene in the movie, and you got to make that. And each of those take about a month to a month and a half to do each of those songs and those scenes, sort of thing. And we were
Wow,
lucky. We found a really kind of cool guy. I'd call him a punk rock animator because he's so, I don't follow the rules, and
yeah.
we'll do it like this, and it'll look cool. And he had like lots of great ideas, and he was thrown in with images and ideas and that.
Yeah, I'm the worst for that. Especially when I'm reaching out for artwork for the Boneyard. Probably why I get so little response because they're like, "Well, what do you want?" It's like, I do heavy metal, but just draw me that. Like,
Yeah.
just you're the artist. You know what I mean? You draw it, man. I have no clue.
Yeah. Like
I
the
would
Thoughts
draw
and
it,
Prayers
you
is a,
know?
Thoughts and Prayers. That song's got a really heavy groove to it, but it's almost like it's not a punk rock song. It's got like one of those like it's just really bass driven groove and drums going, and
Yeah,
then the guitars just really distorted over top of it there. And it's about it's about the stupidity of gun violence in the States and everyone going, what can we do? Thoughts and prayers, like just that whole,
yeah.
we'll
Like
shoot
that
kids, but we'll
memory
just
helps,
say
right?
thoughts and prayers.
Oh yeah, man. They're in a downward spiral for sure with
You know,
everything that's going on. But we don't gotta get into
no, it's
that. Get us
you
banned for
sometimes
life.
you shake your head at there's not a lot. Common sense ain't too common, right?
No,
So
no.
that'd be about it.
Most misused word is definitely common sense because
Yeah. Yeah.
apparently it's not common at all. You know. But
No. So that's what we've been at and doing, right? Like, and there's a song called Seeker, and there's a pretty heavy one. Another one called Not My Problems, another kind of heavy, like rock sort of one
mhm.
that's on there. We got like a few, We Quit and Johnny's Got an Ego. They're all like pretty like aggressive songs that are on there. But then you got other songs where we at like when they sell out, they got horn sections on it,
Yeah, I
right?
heard
Like
that there. Like,
you got bubblegum and
mhm.
generic BS, which is bubblegum is the when they go completely the beat the lead singer guy who wants to be popular with the so it's really you don't even hear the guitars get moved back, but you see it in the movie too. At first they're a band on small stages rocking out, and as the venues get bigger, the guys in the band who want to be heavy get pushed to the back, and the horn
Yeah,
sections and the backup singers come up to the front of
start
the
coming
stage,
further
and
and
they're kind of
further, right?
looking really yeah, and they're kind of all real bored, going, "I don't believe we're playing this shit right now,"
Yeah,
right? So,
yeah.
and even the
Right.
generic BS takes the crap out of, what do you want? Here's a cliche bullshit song for you. It's
Mhm.
generic bullshit. That's what the song's called. So the one guy goes, "Oh, is this our direction? You want a song? Here's one. It's called generic bullshit," right? So because that's what you're making us play.
Right.
So in
That's the
case you don't
thing, though.
catch
You
that,
know, you
that's
get
kind of what goes on.
say you sign up with this label, and then they give you restrictions, and they give you deadlines,
Well,
and the music, as
or
you
they're
said,
just
gets distorted
yeah,
and pushed aside, and it's more about the likes and the fucking comments on the song, and as
yeah.
opposed to the actual real listeners, right?
Yeah, and we get that too. Like in there, you see the manager kind of come on. He's going, "Well, we're going with Johnny's new song." And the guy goes, "What do you mean we're going with Johnny's new song? We're the band. We make the music." He goes, "Well, you need to write our contract. We can tell you what you play, and we can
Right.
tell you what we're going to release.
And
What?
how many
This is
albums we
screwed."
want, you know.
Yeah, when we want it, who we're pushing. We're going to call the band this now. You're going to look
Mhm.
like this, and then they're just kind of going, "Screw it, we quit."
Yeah, I'm out, baby.
We
Gotta go. That's the great thing about nowadays. Like, it's almost, I know everybody at one time was an independent band, obviously, right? But, or an
yeah,
underground, beginner. But nowadays, you almost don't have to make that stupid big sign with this deal or that deal to make it because of the platforms and
yeah.
the community we have available to us nowadays.
We have it. Metal is actually probably one of the best ones in that regard because
Mm,
major labels ignored it for so long that they just developed their whole thing of how they could make money and do that without having to be on a major label.
yeah.
But it's still kind of tough because yeah, you can put out albums, but ultimately bands don't make any money. They
No.
used to be able to. Only way they could make money was touring and people buying merch and buying their records right off of them. Right? Here's
Hmm.
our vinyl. Oh, best way to give some bands some money is to hand them the dollar bill and them give you the shirt,
Yeah. I've
it's
always
sort of
stressed
thing.
that buy the merch, merch, buy their CDs
Yeah.
from them because that's where they make the money.
Yeah.
Like they're making a beer and
Yeah.
maybe a plate of food on tour. You know, they're not
Yeah. No,
because they
that's
got
to get out
gas,
there.
you've got
And then that
hotels,
got all
like
that all got taken away too, right? For
mhm.
3 years. So you saw bands just kind of disappear during this part, and some came through it, but you know, it's Canada. No one really makes that much freaking money
No, I
making
was gonna
music.
say, man, how many big Canadian bands? I can name them all on one hand, probably, right?
And again, I call music's like food. Everyone kind of has a different taste.
Yeah.
And if you like metal, then that's who am I to say it's good or bad. If you
Mhm.
like that pop shit or whatever you like, sure, if that's what you like, that's what you like. You know, I've got the flavors of foods that I like. I got the flavors that music that I like.
Yeah.
I tend to like something heavier with guitars and drums in it, right? So,
Yeah. Just because you don't
you
like
know,
it
we did a
doesn't make
song
it
on our latest
bad,
album,
right?
total Motorhead type song. You know, we did another song that's just like a 60s garage rock song. I guess you could say us as far as a band and a heavier band. We tend to add more flavors in it. We don't just go, oh, this is our style. We will only play
Mhm.
this style.
Yeah,
However, it
yeah.
just tends to be this is our style, and it just tends to be heavy.
Well,
You know,
eventually it
it
becomes just
still
the
won't get
same
liked or
song.
played on any radios.
You know,
Yeah.
you don't ever switch it up. It's always the same song. You know, it's just
Well, you know, we don't feel like playing the same song 10 times on an
no,
album, you know.
fuck no, right?
But that's just us, you know. And
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
that's your flavor. Some people like that. And if that's what
Mm.
you do, you know, that's what you do.
I find yeah, the last couple years since doing this, man, my music has gone from this little dot that I used. This is it. I'm a metalhead, you know. Just listen to this band.
Yeah.
To fuck, I can't even reach the other dot now because so much other
Yeah.
music now flowing in. You know, it's like when you just kind of wake up for a second in that sense,
Well,
right? It's like, wait a minute, I do like
I
this song, right? Oh,
I
then
never
you,
really liked the straight jacket that you have to wear, you know, like I
mhm.
never really liked that. Like you must wear this type of leather jacket and you have to have this hair and you have to look like this and you got to play and your song's got to be a certain thing or you're not considered to be hardcore or you're
Yeah,
not considered to be metal or
yeah.
you're not considered to be this. It used to be it was like a lot more broad. Punk
Mhm.
was a lot broader. Metal was a lot broader and you just went you know, and then it kind of got now you got to be a certain thing to be considered metal or you're not
Mhm.
metal, you're just some I don't know what they call, you know.
I'm
And
not
sure,
sure.
or it just gets like, you know, like I don't tend to bark my lyrics. I can. I've got some songs where I can go yeah and get into it, and then I got other
Yeah.
songs that I sing it more than I'm screaming it, right? So it's just what it is. No, it must be vocals and it must be that's
Yeah,
cool.
full speed ahead,
And I
right?
love playing a song like that, but I'm not
Yeah.
going to play 15 of them in a set, you know.
No, right?
I can
No,
play
for
faster
sure.
than humanly possible still.
All right.
What
I'm
do you do?
always
Yeah.
kicked back. I got my singles coming out here, and we might have the video ready in time to release it all at one time. So we're
Right
waiting,
on. That's
waiting to
cool.
hear back from the guys doing them up right now. So,
Right on. That's great.
so with
Yeah,
this
we're
new, oh, go ahead. I
no,
just,
that was about it. Like I'm just
yeah.
like I said, the one we just finished up, it's just a straight up rock and roll album, but it's kind of very you know, and again, like I remember like, you know, that used to be metal even crossed over into punk rock, which crossed over into hardcore. It would just kind
Mm-hmm.
of depended on the level of playing sometimes, or the emphasis, or sometimes the fashion that you put forward. Whereas I
Yeah.
didn't really care about that shit. You know, like Motorhead was loved by punk rockers, but it was a metal band, right? You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
that sort of thing. And but they had their
Well,
whole thing that, you know,
yeah.
you heard a Motorhead song, you went, that's Motorhead. You know,
Oh, you
like you
can
hear a
tell
Ramones song,
it.
you go, that's the
Yeah.
Ramones.
Yeah.
You know.
No,
So
that's
that's
so
cool.
true, though, right? That iconic sound in that sense that
Yeah,
defines that.
absolutely.
Well, I guess it would define the generation, but even that, I'm not even part of that. Like, I didn't grow up when Motorhead started. I was started listening to them in the '80s, early late '90s, or some shit. Because
Yeah.
by the time I was born, but they still fucking helped me and defined who I was as far as like they're always like, oh, the old gem, that's the best music. Well, it kind of
Well,
was, you know.
it's this. I really don't think music has a best before date either. Some things tend to
No,
sound a
so
bit
true,
dated
right?
just because of the way they produced it. But if it was a good tune and you liked it, I don't give a shit. It was
Yeah, I'm
last month, like 10 years ago, or 20 years ago. So those
Yeah, the
songs sit
song's a
side
good
by
song.
side half the time, right?
Hmm.
You know, a good song's a good song, and you like it, you like it. And generally, tunes I liked at any particular time in my life, I'm still sitting there going, "Yeah, I still like that." You know,
Yeah, I
I,
still listen to this.
I didn't know it had a best before date. You know,
No, right? That's so true, though. But now with are you guys going to be doing some little shows around, or are you guys back
we got
doing
one.
live,
We
or?
played. We opened for Forgotten Rebels in May, last May.
Hmm.
We did another show. Like we did 4 shows last year. That's kind of, but there's the thing that like the ebbs and flows. Like even when we were going into making this album and COVID happened, we were kind of like, we played like 100 shows in like 3 years or something like that. We were going like, yeah, we're cool.
Yeah,
Half the clubs we played closed. So we got one coming up in June in Orangeville. They got this head shop here called Altered Nation. They want to do a band
yeah,
where out on the street they close the street off for the blues fest. But damn it, this one end they're going to have the metal punk
yeah.
rock end of the
No,
street,
I'm
and we're supposed to do that. That'll be our show.
pretty
But again,
sure back in the day with Alternative, I think that was
yeah,
with Jay and them. We grew up with those guys in that sense, man. Fucking knew them quite well. I
yeah,
used to go and party with them before they even had the store, and fuck, they've done
yeah,
very well for themselves there, man,
yeah,
for sure.
totally. We gotta but our thing is right now, my one son's like they've hit a certain age. Like I said, they start off there 13 and 16. One's at university right now, and the other
Mm,
one's in Ottawa too, right? One's in Ottawa and one's in Waterloo, and I'm here. So we'll
yeah,
do shows. We're just not really looking to do shows every weekend, sort of thing
yeah,
anymore,
yeah.
or just any show. So we got a cool show, we'll go play it, but it's not like we're going, gotta play
Uh,
this many times this year. They got to kind
yeah,
of they're in university, so they're kind of getting through their school. They said, let's do recordings, let's put out this film, let's finish up the recording we're doing, let's do 3 or 4 or 5 shows a year, but let's not worry about doing, like we played in December in Toronto, and we did it like a little private screening. Again, we're going to play in June, and we'll probably do one
mm.
later in the year as well, but that'll probably be it for the year, because like I said, everyone's off at school doing school,
Right.
so
Oh,
we'll do
I'm
that
gonna
over
have
like,
to.
and then they got a couple to be done, and we got
I'll
a plan we
definitely
want to do.
find you in Orangeville. I'll have to check that show. If you're only doing so many this year, man, I better make that
Well,
one
yeah,
then.
there's a cool one. What is it? Uh, who's the band? Oh fuck, frick, I forget. Filthy Radicals. I think they're playing it too.
Oh,
If you've
nice,
ever heard
eh?
of them. So
Uh,
yeah, there'll
maybe
be
I'll
about
have to
four
go through my
bands on the
list.
bill, and I think they close the street off, and then there's bands all down the street. We're at the one far end, and we're kind of going to be the loud sort of rock and roll stage, where it'll
Yeah,
be us and Filthy Radicals and a couple other bands. I think it's like it starts at about like 6 or 7 and goes to about 9 or 10 at night.
nice, eh? Not too bad. I'm getting older, so it's
Yeah.
nice not, get out of the concert at 1 in the morning. You're like, holy fuck,
Well,
you
yeah,
know?
I know what you mean. I've got
Got-
friends who say that too. It's just like, oh man, I'm really not minding these 7, 8 o'clock show times, and it's done at 11. Yeah, I hear
right?
you. That's the other thing too. Like it is weird. Like the clubs were having a hard time before COVID, and you come back now, and a lot of people like it's not packed in clubs.
No,
Like huge concerts are sometimes packed, but people don't go out like they used to just to watch bands and that,
no,
right? Like
right? No, it's
it's
weird.
and I don't mind. That's great to play that place that holds 50 or 100 people. That's kind of like the level of place that we play in, and we do these
Yeah,
bigger shows that we play and open. Sure, we get to play for a couple hundred people or so, or a few
most
hundred, and
bands
that's
and
nice too.
most people I talk to, they prefer the 100-person show. It's more personal for them when they play, right?
Right.
They
Yeah.
get to talk to
Yeah.
the people afterwards, sell their merch. It's a lot easier,
Yeah.
almost, they say. When it's that small,
Yeah.
that personal, you touch people on a different level when it's that close, right? There's
Absolutely.
not 30 feet between you and the stage, right? You
Yeah.
can't even barely see them at front row. They got you so far back nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we were doing 30% capacity shows before it was popular.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I was choked there.
We're right on the forefront of that, eh?
Right, right. So Ottawa, you're playing in Ottawa, eh? That'd be fun,
We did
little
an
shot
Ottawa
for you.
show there, and that we went down there. It's kind of because the one guy's down in Ottawa, so we did a show down there last year. We did the Lalawa Festival thing when we did that as well, and then we did the one in Hamilton with the Forgotten Rebels. So those were kind of our shows last year. There's a parking lot show that we did. It's the punk rock in the parking lot in Toronto. We jumped on that. We didn't do it last year because everyone was out of town. But and
Yeah.
again, we got the one coming up in Orangeville, and we'll probably once this new album is done up, we'll do like a release show in Toronto on that, and maybe hop on a couple other shows. Again,
Oh,
we're
nice.
just kind of letting everyone, because at the certain point where people are in their life, we're like, okay, this year we're all just kind of in different places. We'll finish up the album, we'll release the film, and then we won't worry about playing much.
Yeah, yeah. Get their schooling done. That's the main thing, right?
Yeah, yeah. They paid a bunch of money for that shit, so I guess they need to
Yeah,
do that.
yeah, yeah. Right, no doubt. But anything else we should drop on the people today, man? Or
That's about it. Like discarded. Got a. You can go on our YouTube account. You can check out a couple of the animated videos that are done for this. Soon we'll have probably posted up the whole film and that. Check out what you like. I said, it's a bit of a different album because we're doing a soundtrack. So like we
Mhm.
did stuff that wasn't just heavy stuff. So it's kind of a bit of a left turn for us. And the stuff that we finished up now is just getting right back to straight up rock and roll. So
Nice, man.
that's kind of what
Excited.
we got going on. We'll finish up this and then look about putting this album out like early next year.
Yeah. So when can we officially see the video, the little short film? And
The video, there's a video up of thoughts and prayers. So if you go to the YouTube Discarded channel, you'll see the video for thoughts and prayers there. I'm thinking you'll probably see in the fall will be the earliest I'm allowed to release it,
yeah,
because
yeah,
when you
right.
put it out to festivals now, you're not allowed to like put it online for people. You have to have it for them so they can show it at their festivals.
Yeah.
So it's been doing that for the fall session and the spring session that's coming up.
Oh, okay.
And like I said, we've got 8 or 9 awards, seven, I mean, selections, and about 7 awards for the film so far. So that's been pretty cool.
Wow. Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah.
This fall, man. Definitely keep us posted, man. Let us know when that comes out
Yeah,
for sure. And then, yeah, send
for
me
sure.
over the links, and I'll update the title so they can just touch and go
Will
and
do.
find their way all
Yeah.
over your stuff, man. And oh, Everfelt, these guys are awesome. They've
Never
invited
felt.
me down this September down to Kentucky, Howl at the Moon
Ooh,
Festival, I think it is. So we'll
right
be
on.
first time being invited to the full-on festival as media in that sense coming down. We're gonna cover it all, do a little documentary for them, be all live here in the Boneyard. So keep an eye out for that.
Cool. That's right on. That's very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. And then great band too. Check them out. They're more like you said, the old rock and roll, like the heavier Doors,
Yeah. Well,
Soundgarden kind of sound, right?
it's
So,
well, same thing. Like when our kids started, we were like a very Ramones band, very
mm-hmm.
Ramones sounding band. And then as they learned to play, they got different. So the drummer is totally into Bonham, John Bonham, and Deep Purple. He's like a total classic rock guy, which is funny, right? Like he's
wow.
a young guy. He's totally into. He buys vinyl and listens to classic rock. So his drumming is kind of gone that way. Like he's like a very John Bonham drummer when he plays now.
hmm
It's like Mike, I kind of describe us now. We're like, this is our band. I've got like Cliff Burton, John Entwistle bass player. So like a heavy overdrive Rickenbacker through a huge amp with a Morley pedal, doing like amazing riffs on the bass. I've got a John Bonham drummer, and then they've got me, Johnny Ramone,
Oh,
playing
yeah.
guitar.
All right.
And that's
Quite
the
the
sound of
mixture,
our band now, right?
right?
That's what we're sort of like as a band now. So you got stuff.
hmm
It's pretty mutant. It's like
Yeah.
our music ends up being filtered through that and coming out, and it's kind of like, what genre are you? Well, there's some metal stuff. Like we got stuff on this, and you go, that's straight up metal on this new album. Oh, that's garage rock from the '60s. Oh, that's Motorhead. Oh, that's just a
hmm
punk rock song. Like it's just that's New York Dolls. That's Stooges. Like the influences of whatever it is get kind of pulled in, and then the playing is like that underneath, right? Like Jarrett does not. He's not a punk rock bass player. He's like Cliff Burton Metallica bass player when he's like, or Joan Atwood
right.
was like really busy and doing lots of overdrive distorted shit on his bass, and the
Mhm.
drums aren't just doing you can do that. We have songs where he's doing like kick-ass double time, but then he's got like the he does his like fucking bottom rolls in it, right? So it's like I laugh, right? Like when we do a breakdown part, he's like doing halftime sort of stuff. So yeah, it's kind of nice, just like you say, flavors, throw them in there. If that's what you do, it take
Yeah.
it with what you're doing and throw the other playing in. It only comes up with like, that's a good mutant cross
Right.
referencing into a song, right? You
Oh,
know,
you
and
gotta
then we
love
got
it
more
though.
guitar solos and shit going on in our latest ones, right? So yeah, so like that heavy doors thing, that's a cool
Right.
thing. Like
Yeah.
put a good distorted keyboards in underneath, you know, a Wurlitzer or a Hammond B3 sort of sound. So
Yeah.
that's always kind of a cool, fun thing to do.
Oh yeah. You gotta always evolve that way. Like you said, it's gotta been pretty amazing to watch the evolution of the kids and you guys starting the band and then watching them, as you just said, go in
Yeah,
different ways with how and style they play, but then you guys bring it together with yourself,
yeah,
boom, and then it just sounds pretty fucking awesome. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
and now that we've been playing together for like, especially for like the last 3 4 years, we're really kind of got an intuitive way. Like we played a whole bunch of shows, we jammed a whole bunch, and what kind of happens is, you know, you just know each other as a band. You get back to your sound, so like we get going, and boom, rust comes off, and it's just like, oh, this is very cool, man. Like, you know, we know you know how to slide with each other. You know, like even
mm-hmm,
like if the drummer does something and he's kind of like coming out on this thing, you know, and you got the ear to kind of go with it. And I guess there's where the family thing sort of helps us. You intuitively they pick up on what we're playing. We can just kind of look at each other and go, okay, we're going here, or we're going a bit longer here. So when
mm-hmm,
you get to that level, you know, we're pretty tight about going, this is our how the song is structured, and we're not a jam band, we're more of a structure band to our song, but we know how to slide it and bring it down and groove off of what, or just understand what the other guy's doing, right? Like,
feed off
oh,
of
okay, the
each
bass
other
player.
now. Like you can feel them. Like you definitely like you go in and you can start a band. First couple of weeks, you're still feeling each other out. It's still
Yeah.
really rough, but like you said, you get into that groove and you get
Well, we
that
got the
style,
dynamics
and
in
then
that too, right? Like, oh, we're coming to this part. It was here's where we bring it down, and we're like, whoa, right on the note. It just kind of comes
mm-hmm.
down, and then we build it up together, and then it's like, we're going to the chorus, and,
Right.
and then we're and then or it's going to the part where it's not the singing, and then we're like, all right, now we can all just let loose, right, and play. Because you know, to
Yeah.
me as a guitar player singer, I'm pretty trapped on a microphone, right? But
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's kind of nice when we get to those parts, and I can turn around and look at the other guys, and we even get now where we like to kind of set up close to each other so we can. I like
Still
being able to
see.
look at even the drummer, right? And like you're coming down, and you know, I was originally a drummer, so like a lot of our things is my rhythm is like real locked in, and they're allowed to kind of freak out around my rhythm, which is funny as the guy. I'm kind of keeping that straight and narrow of where the song is, and they're
Mm-hmm.
allowed to freak off and go off into the other dynamic and that, you know.
Oh, it makes for
So
an
that's
awesome
fun.
stage presence, though. You know, I've always loved the stage, like just to see the band
Yeah,
live and hear it live. It changes the way you hear the song the next day on the CD. You know, brings you back to
yeah,
that
yeah.
moment in that pit or in that crowd, and you're like, yeah.
Like even that we released a thing called the pandemic sessions where we went into a studio and we just went live off the floor. If you watch
Mm-hmm.
that, you can just see dynamically we give a pretty for a three piece, we get a pretty growly sound snapping out there.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it's fairly aggressive, even whatever we're kind of doing. Even a studio environment like that was, you know, where they're recording you while you're playing live, basically, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of neat to watch us in that. It's funny to go back because we did the first set was songs off our first two albums. The next set was songs off our last couple albums. And the last set, we actually did half the songs we did songs we hadn't recorded.
Oh
So, and
wow.
it's kind of neat to listen to them because we just kind of recorded some of those songs, and how they sound on our recording that we just finished is different to this kind of live aggressive versions of it. But we're
Mm-hmm.
you know, I look at it, and even I think the other day we are looking at some videos, someone needed it, and I looked at it, I go, holy shit, that's pretty fucking set there. It's kind of cool that the way we just followed it, we just like rocked out there. It's a pretty shit hot drummer, and it's when you got a shit hot drummer, then and everyone else plays, and it kind of helps, right?
Yeah. Oh, definitely right.
Yeah. So,
Oh.
it's been fun that way. Like, and you're saying like, oh, your kids. The band actually gave us a point where, you're in a band. So it's like the
Mhm.
way that you relate to someone when you first start, and then you kind of like, this is us as a band and a dynamic. So it's kind of cool that you could relate to them almost like adults at that particular point. We're making music together. We're all kind of, you relate
Yeah,
to
yeah.
them on a different level than
I
just,
was gonna say
I'm
you
your
almost
dad,
step out of that dad zone in that sense, and now it's into just a band zone in that sense, right?
Yeah, and you got to do that even with kids in general. Like, I don't know about you, but at a certain point, you're not the kid anymore. You've
Hmm.
grown into a man, right? You've grown into a person with ideas, and that happens from 13 to 20. But when you were 20,
Yeah.
you remember, if you had
On
someone
your
go, well, listen, little kid, you'd be like, screw you, I've got
yeah, right.
ideas
I'm
too now.
20,
Like,
man. Right.
I don't need to listen to you, old man, saying, "Oh,
Yeah.
you know everything." So, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I remember what it was like to be 16 and 20 and being a fully cognitive human being who had thoughts for myself. And same with
Hmm.
these guys. You got to change your relationship with your kids
As
as
they
they grow.
go.
They're not
Yeah.
little kids, and if you keep treating them like little kids, they're gonna go, screw you.
Yeah. See
Like,
ya. Yeah.
it's
That's where you
uh,
get I fucking hate you. Ah.
yeah.
You
Well,
know, I
you know what
gotta.
I mean. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully, people who end up with half decent relationships with parents, it's because the parent was, well, sometimes parents are flawed human beings themselves, and you got
Of
to remember
course.
that.
Right.
But
Yeah.
other times they're not flawed human beings, and you kind of relate each other on a more pure level then, where you're like, oh wow, cool, you've got ideas and I like your perspective and where you're coming from.
Yeah.
All my kids kind of turned out like good people, right? Like, they're not assholes, and
Just a
they think
sit.
about the world and they read and they
Yeah.
understand stuff, and they're not reactionary. So it's kind of cool, and they're funny, right? So, we all like a laugh and a sense of humor. So it's good to hang out with them in that. And it's good to be able to, not just from a music sense, that you kind of go, oh, good, they didn't turn out to be dicks. Certain things. And then
Yeah,
I don't
that's all
mind
you
hanging
can
out with
pray
those
for.
people.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I didn't.
I understand, man. I fucking totally get that. But it is
Yeah.
a nice moment to sit back and be like, yeah, I didn't, like you just said, I didn't raise dicks. You know, they're
Yeah,
gonna be
the
all
guy's an
right.
asshole, or he's a
Yeah.
mooch, or he's like just.
Because as a parent, you've
But
got
I
to
would tell
know,
them.
if your kid's that kid or not. Like there's no way you don't know in that sense,
You
right?
know that pretty quick, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
just, well, with anyone, you're sitting with someone. If they're an asshole, you'll sit there
They're
and go,
yeah,
man, what are you doing that for, man? You're being a dick.
yeah, right.
Like, regardless, after a while, you just kind of go. You don't hang out with those people. You just kind of
No,
go,
I gotta
man,
go.
I expect certain things from people I hang out with, and the basic is that you're not a dick to me. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
kind of an
No,
important
hundred
sort of
percent.
thing. And it doesn't really matter if they're kids or coworkers or friends. There's
Yeah.
kind of a certain expectation after a while that we have a laugh, we can hang out, you can
Hmm.
be who you are, and generally you're not like an asshole to
Yeah, and
people in
still
general.
accomplish
You
stuff,
know?
whether it's conversation or
Yeah.
band or writing or making
Yeah.
the documentary or the music video. Like
Yeah.
that all takes a lot of communication skills, just in general.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and then also being as the person who, again, when you started out, I was like the older dad guy who played punk rock before,
hmm.
allowing people to grow into the role where you're listening and doing that. And that's a tough thing too, like to kind of go, in a band, usually the guy who's writing the song goes, no, it goes like this. But a lot of the time I like to want to hear what the other people are bringing, because they'll come up with ideas I won't have.
Hmm.
And unless I'm really adamant that they're taking it in a direction that I don't, I kind of like, you write the drum part, you write the bass part, I'll write the guitar part. Sure, I wrote the song and the structure, and you heard me play it. It had a certain feel to it. But if you bring other stuffs to get it to have a certain feel to it, that's great too. That's
Hmm.
great that we can get to that point where you've all brought your stuff, and then it reaches a different level. Like, I could play the drums, I could play the bass part, I could play the guitar part, and it would sound like me playing all the parts. I've done those demos before. But the
Right.
cool
Yeah.
thing about it is it gets to that point where they brought their stuff and it went in a slightly different direction than I ever would have thought. And the
Yeah.
same thing happens when you go into a studio. Like, we work with a guy, John Crinchley, and I work with Ian Blurton. He's in a band, Future Now. So you should check out Future Now. Like, they're a
Yeah.
really heavy band, right? He's a great guitar player. He's got great players in his band. But those people give you ideas. And the reason why, you go into sort of things in studios like that, they can get the sounds that I don't have the skill. It's like someone say, a car. I don't fix cars. I take it to someone who can fix a car. And then
Yeah.
I don't sit there over top of them going, oh, it needs to be fixed like this. Well, I don't know. Or
Right.
they might be able to go, hey, how about this? Ultimately, you have a decision and you go, no. But a lot of time, like with a guy like John, he would sit there and give me ideas about, well, maybe you guys don't need to play that riff for 8 times. Maybe you can do it for 4 times and then go into it, or maybe
Hmm.
cut it there. And like, just that sort of editing and structuring of songs during the recording sort of thing. That's producing. That's someone who's
Yeah,
producing you.
that's
Or, you know, I've done that. I've produced bands, and I'm pretty good that we kind of co-produce a lot of the times, and I've got an idea of what songs and instruments are going on a recording. We tried to, we don't try to get too far away from what we're sounding, but the more that we've been recording, we've also not been going. It must only be the three of us playing in a studio, and that's the final recording. We go, no, I'm gonna throw a guitar solo on here, or we're gonna
yeah.
put a
This
part
in
that's going to
here.
help drive the chorus, like some shakers underneath it during the chorus, just to kind of up it a bit. Or I might throw like a background vocal on a chorus, or double my vocal. Like those are the sort of little things that you put in there. Or
Mhm.
but generally it's going to be the bass, drums, and guitar with just
Yeah.
the other little flavors on top. I don't
Yeah.
have to go. Otherwise, I could just go into the studio and do another live recording, and that's cool too. We
Hmm.
did an album like that.
Yeah, you guys got options. Fuck, you use them all up.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
use them
like
all
I'm
the
saying,
time is
like
what I mean to
producers are
say,
good
right?
that way, right?
Yeah, 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 for
Especially if they
sure.
can get a cool sound, right? Like they're the ones who are getting that drum sound. They're the ones who are
Hmm.
getting
Pulling that tang out
that you,
or that
they're
harmonic.
the ones getting the guitar sounds and all that stuff. And then finally,
Yeah,
he's the guy who's got the expertise that he knows how to put it at the different levels. And it's go, what do you listen to when I mix? I kind of listen to it and go, yeah, it sounds like a band. There's the drums, there's the bass, there's the guitar, there's the vocals. They're all in sort of levels. And I'm not going, yeah, that's a great kick drum solo,
yeah, yeah. So
like that,
yeah.
finding where the bass is lost. Oh, the bass is too loud, or oh, that's great, but the guitar's there, or the vocals are too low and it's buried in the
Hmm.
mix and I can't really, or it's just sitting there, like just finding the sweet spots. That's what you got a guy who's a good mixer or producer does, right? He knows how to put all
They can
those
hear
different
those
tracks together and give you
subtleties too.
yeah,
Me personally, I can't hear none of that. It just sounds the same no matter how people play it to me. Well, for the most part, so like you said, I
yeah.
leave it to them to do that part, right? That,
Leave it to the professionals to kind of do.
yeah, yeah,
But you hear
100%.
examples like, you hear the Metallica album where there's no bass, and you're like,
Hmm.
what are you guys thinking, right? Like people actually go over and dub in the bass on. I think it was the one after Burton died, where they turned it right down. Like all you hear is the kick drum and snare, or you
Hmm.
hear Saint Anger, which is the worst snare drum sound in the world,
Yeah,
right?
oh
Sounds like
man.
a guy smacking on a guitar. I mean, on a garbage can lid.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Ding, ding, every time
yeah.
it fucking hits.
That.
And you listen to it afterwards and go, what they're thinking. Or I'm forgetting the album, but like, yeah, the bass drum was so loud and there was no bass. And you were just kind of going, yeah, it's a great kick drum solo there.
Hmm.
You
That's,
know,
that's fantastic, right?
it's like, well, back that one off a bit, turn the bass up. You want to sit there and go as if you're sitting at a live gig and going, yeah, I hear everything in proper proportions. And it's kind
Yeah,
of, you don't really notice that, but when you do notice that is when you go, fuck, that gig was sounded great, right? Because
yeah.
everything was at those levels that you like to hear.
Mm. Oh, for sure.
So that's kind of been even maybe a bit of a rabbit hole that I've gone down over the last 3 or 4 years is watching. And every time I get to go into a studio like that, like we record an album a year and have
Yeah.
since 2016.
Hmm.
We've got out 4 or 5 albums and we just finished another one and we got another one. Each
Yeah.
time I go in, I like to kind of see like what this guy's doing. I don't learn it and do it, but I kind of get a few tricks on what he does. Like there's, it was kind of neat where he
Yeah.
places the guitar, where he places the bass in the mix, how he does that sort of thing. Certain bands, the bass is down just because that's the band. The bass player's not doing anything interesting, but our bass player does interesting stuff, so we tend to move
Oh,
the bass up a bit. So I make sure the
hmm.
bass and the drums are there, and then add the guitars afterwards. Other bands, it's very
The other
guitar
way.
oriented, and
Hmm.
the guitar is the first thing that's kind of up in the mix in that, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the time, find that sweet spot for where the vocals are. Some vocals aren't meant to be up above everything. They're meant to be down. And I say that too, put it down in with the guitars a bit more, right? Because I don't need that vocal up above it. It's almost just like another instrument. You want it in there with the guitars, and you don't want it to take away from the guitars. You know,
Yeah,
pop songs,
overpower
country songs,
everything.
but vocals, they put the vocals way up over top. They put the drums
Mm-hmm.
up way loud, and then all the instruments are in behind. So just kind of seeing that stuff, or this sort of thing where the guy's kind of going, "We got a cool guitar riff," but he's like, "Well, you don't need to hit it all the way through. Maybe you have it come in after the first chorus and then build it so you're going somewhere with it, or maybe not have it come into the chorus." It's kind of cool to have a producer guy who sits there going, "Oh yeah, I really thought of that. I thought it was a neat riff, so I did it all the way through." Well, no, because then
Yeah.
it's just like anything else. You kind of go, "Oh, I'm a bit tired of hearing this riff all the way through,"
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, you
But
gotta
it's
mix it up
when you
or
love a riff and you're like wait for it to come again. Go, "Oh yeah, there's where it kicked in."
yeah.
Fucking A, you know.
The magic of the finality of it all, right?
Yeah,
Like you said, to
yeah,
pull it all together and make sense of it all, so that when
yeah.
yeah,
So
that's
those between working with a guy like Ian Blurton and working with a guy with John Crinchley, they're both guitar players. So it was really great to have those sort of people expertise A with guitar sounds in recording, and B how you can kind of do stuff, like okay, we're gonna do this guitar on this side and this side, and then pan them slightly this way. You're playing the same thing and you doubled your guitar. It's big and thick, but one was like a Les Paul through a Marshall and the other was like a Tele Deluxe through a High Watt. But when you put them together, that was the one guitar sound. And you're going, holy shit, that sounds cool. Oh, it just
yeah.
sounds like one big thick guitar playing, right? But then it just doesn't sound thin. So, like I said, it was kind of neat to watch these guys who'd done it for a while and watch
Mhm.
sort of what tricks that they kind of pulled in and kind of, oh, that's cool. So, next time you're making a record, you're kind of going, what do you want to do? Well, I want to do the guitars and I want to have one be the Marshall. So you're like, maybe I'll
Yeah,
try that trick again.
right.
Yeah.
Incorporate that.
So,
Yeah, it's always cool to see the little tricks. I know I've been in a few times. Like you said, I don't hover over or take notes and shit. You know what I mean? But
no.
uh, it's
And
always
then
cool
this
to you
one,
always learn something new every time you go in. You know.
yeah. And the latest quarter we went in, like I said, Caden's really into Bonham and drumming. So this one
Hmm.
we were like, we're gonna take a long time. Like what we used to our first two albums, we made the first album in a day.
Hmm.
We recorded the whole
Just
thing, had 9 songs, played it right through. Great, cool. Second album, same sort of thing. We did it over 2 days. Third album, we did it in 2 or 3 days, like just boom, boom, boom. And then we kind of went, well, let's take our time. We got time, it's COVID. So we went in and got a really cool drum sound. So he's got a 26-inch kick. So you got placing the mics to get the sounds on that. And then
hmm.
go, hey, did you get a good take? Yeah. No, okay. Well, let's just worry about doing the song and getting one good take of the drums. And if it takes us a morning, then that's what we did. So we did
Yeah.
all the drum tracks in the latest one over 4 days. So we did 10 songs over 4 days. And it was just a much more relaxed pace of not going, okay,
Hmm.
we need to do this. We need to get the whole album recorded. Like the last album that we did like that, we had a miserable time because we were kind of like, I didn't even remember because I was either doing bed tracks, guitar overdubs, or singing. And it was like at the end of it, they were like, what day did I do that? When did I eat dinner? I don't remember, because we were just
Yeah.
trying to pack it all in. Whereas this one was win and go, okay, I know what I want to do vocally and I know that I can do that. And it was interesting working with someone who knew how to do that, where you kind of sing something and he'd come back and go, okay, now try this and sing it that way. And then you come back and you like watch this guy who knows how to do shit and going, okay, you got this take here, this take here. Which one you like? I like that take. Okay, we'll use that. Right. And then he's
Hmm.
like, boom, boom, boom. And then all of a sudden, like, oh, that's cool. Just learning those little fun things where someone knew how to do that stuff. Or I just sing through it 3 times and he goes, well, out of the three, I'm sure you didn't make this mistake in the same spot.
Right.
And to save you the time, right? And he's like, oh, great. You're
Yeah.
right. I kind of flubbed that word. He goes, that's all right. You got it on this take. And he just moves it up in there. I go, oh, okay, great. Then I don't have to
Perfect.
keep
Right.
going in and singing the whole song through. And then my
Yeah.
voice is completely shot, right? Sort
Yeah.
of
You
thing. So
spent
you got to
6 hours singing
yeah.
the same song. Fucking.
Oh, yeah. And then, yeah. So, yeah, we took a lot of time getting drums and making it like it sound like a big metal drum sound, right?
Yeah.
Like in the drums. And then we knew the drums in this album that we just finished were going to be mixed right up front, right? Like we wanted it to be, all right, Caden, we're highlighting you.
Yeah.
You got some
You're
cool
on,
drum stuff.
baby.
So
It's your time to
we're
shine, right?
we're gonna make sure it's right up there. Yeah.
Well, I think the dog wants out here, man. So over here.
Yeah, no
bugging
problem.
me.
You gotta take the dog out. We're all done here.
Let's see. Yeah, he's ready to go. Yeah,
Good chat.
yeah.
You don't want me to shit on the carpet.
No,
Piss
that's
on the
bigger
carpet.
than
Eh?
me when that happens. But hey, man, I appreciate you coming on this afternoon, man. I really enjoyed. Sorry it took us so long to get you back on. I know you've had two
All good.
absences.
Anytime.
So looking forward to seeing this film in the fall, man. I can make sure you remind us here, man. I'll post it up when it comes out,
Absolutely.
and
Good stuff.
shoot
Appreciate it.
shoot me over the links, and I'll update the title so everyone can click
Will
and
do.
follow. And yeah, once again, maybe hopefully I'm in town. I can catch you when you're in Orangeville, but not really that far from where I am right now. So
right on. Good
yeah,
stuff.
brother.
I appreciate it. I appreciate the conversation too.
Hey, anytime, man. And we'll get you on before. We won't wait another year to get you back on, man. We'll have you on here soon.
Good stuff. Appreciate
All right, man.
it.
You guys play loud and play proud. Oh, he's getting right
You
up there
betcha.
now.
Take care.